Welcome everybody. So happy to be reconnecting with you today as I do this podcast live stream. It is May 8th, 2024, and we are headlong into an amazing year. We have all kinds of things coming at us from all directions. And in case I didn't mention it, my name is Paul Fletcher, and this is my podcast called The Healing Source. So to put a little background on this is series 10, and in this series I have ventured away from the traditional wisdom and teachings on spirituality, which has been the first 9 series and the first 60 or so episodes. So if you are not familiar with the wisdom and teachings that have been shared, then please go back and listen to some of them. There is much that can be shared to many souls, not just you. You might be one of the few awakened ones, but many people need these podcasts. So make sure that you subscribe and share. And welcome to Hina, welcome to the others that are joining and will continue to join. So as I was starting to say, this series 10, I decided to kind of go more off the deep end, so to speak, on the subject matter. I touched more on manifestation, I touched more on the nature of our existence, I've touched on dimensions and time, and I wanted to touch on this subject matter today, which is titled Aliens, Genetic Manipulations, Dark and Light, fighting for all, and then mind control, or the fight for your mind. Now these are all individual subjects, and you could probably go down quite a few rabbit holes with each one of these individually. But in this crazy world that we live in, these are all very real possibilities, and in my personal opinion, they have and do happen. And yet, here we are, trying to rise above it all and discern how we fit into this massive universe, teeming with life, teeming with possibility, teeming with experiences, and to be frank, teeming with too much information. And yet, for those of us that are on an awakened path, a spiritual path, these kinds of things can impact our enlightenment journey. So we can be ignorant of them, which certainly a lot of people are. We can acknowledge them and utilize the information to assist us in our soul journey. It's really a choice of how we want to work with that information. Now, what I'll be sharing simply what I personally have witnessed, heard, observed, read about, come to understand over the course of time, etc. Because I'm one of those people that is, I don't just take something for face value. I don't believe it just because you tell it to me. Levels of proof. Many people with different levels of education saying the same thing from their own angles and their own perspectives. When I gather enough validation and enough information and enough validity of such strange and foreign things to talk about, such as genetic manipulation or mind control, or, like I said, the rabbit hole can go very deep. When I've gathered enough of that information, then I may move towards acknowledging and believing it. And then it becomes, to what degree? What relevance would it have to me? Let's imagine there was genetic manipulations, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. So what? What does that have to do with my enlightenment journey? Well, ultimately, nothing. Ultimately, Source creates all things. Source creates literally everything, including the aliens and life on other planets. Source creates everything. It is the knowing of it that could affect us either direction. We could decide to spend our time and energy going down that rabbit hole, thereby taking us away from going inside and connecting more to Source, or we could decide to be entertained by it. And I can tell you that I've done both. So the reason I decided to talk about this today was to kind of to put the elephants in the room on display, because you literally are sleeping under a rock if this is new information to you. And in the same breath, maybe that's a good place to be sleeping, because being ignorant of these kinds of things has its bliss. It has its payoff. It allows you to just stay focused on the simplicity of life. The downside to just being in the simplicity of life is, for the vast majority of people, that means being unawake and unaware. That means doing the 9-to-5 job, taking care of the wife, family, and kids, doing a Friday night meal because you got your paycheck, maybe doing something on the weekend, and then rinse, wash, and repeat the following week. And that is not awakening. That is simply moving through life, without much agenda or attention to why are you here? What's the purpose of life? So, for me, I have been interested in all of these and so much more than this for such a long time. When I looked at taking the subject matter on, I realized that it would not be a half-hour event. So I'm just going to dive right in. I'm going to start sharing with you some things that I've come to become aware of, none of which you have to believe, accept, or understand, but it might bring you some additional information that could be of value for you. So let's start where we start. So one of the questions is, are we alone, right? Are we here on Earth alone? Is it just humans? Me personally, I just laugh at that question. Absolutely not. To me personally, I think it's the epitome of crazy to think that we are all by ourselves here. That's like an ant saying we're all alone, when right above the ant is ant eaters that eat the ant, and people that step on the ant, and a whole another world out there. So we very much could be like the ant as well on this earth. Now, there is a long documented history of life before you and I ever got here. The typical human lives about 100 years now. There's quite a bit of documentation of people living many hundreds of years. There's quite a bit of information out there that goes back and talks about things like Lemuria and Atlantis and so forth. There is a significant amount of information out there regarding life even before that. There is information like Noah's Ark and the Great Floods, and that's more listed in the Bibles. What happened before that, right? So it's been my observation in all the reading, listening, and everything I've ever done, that the true history, which certainly I do not know, but the true history has definitely been lost. definitely been lost. There is a variety of wisdom and information regarding how Earth became formed 4 or so billion years ago. And it refers to a massive planet. I want to say it's like 1,000 times bigger than this one. I think the name is Maldek. And apparently it exploded, and it's what creates our galaxy and all of the belts that are out there. Apparently there was once upon a time life on Mars, and the story goes that a really, really large asteroid flew by it, literally pulling the atmosphere away from Mars. And so the story goes that there has been life on those places, and that there has been reincarnation. And when those places blew up, or the atmosphere was pulled away in this example, what happened to all those souls? They reincarnate, in this case here on Earth. But they could reincarnate anywhere. Both my spiritual teacher and many other spiritual teachings say that we can reincarnate just about anywhere. It does not have to be here on Earth. But another piece of information that's, again, way out there, it's on the side of dark and light battle. It says that we are unable to reincarnate out of this Earth environment because the dark side has been holding us in a bubble. So this rabbit hole can go down just 1,000 different possible directions. And if I buy into this piece of information that says there is a darkness that has been holding humanity hostage for a long, long, long time, roughly 300 or so thousand years. There's a lot of information that says that's probably true, and it's a tough one to swallow. But what if it is true? What if the darkness has been holding us hostage for a long, long time, keeping us in a reincarnation cycle? It would make it pretty hard to become enlightened, I would think. So there is so many different angles and perspectives that can trap us, that can cause us to spend time in a specific area. So let's back up a little bit and we'll just talk on these one at a time. Let's talk about alien and alien life. Okay? So in my opinion, to think that we're alone is not just slightly short of foolish. Just simply because it goes against all odds. Just simple math indicates that we are not alone. So then the question becomes, well, why don't we know about this life, alien life outside of us? And there's a couple of variable answers to it. One would be our ability to sense that alien life with our existing five senses. There's an entire school of thought and a lot of people that believe that aliens live amongst us, that they simply have the ability to change their face, or that they're actually alien races that look very similar to us with minor differences. Okay, ears might be different, neck might be a little bit longer, or whatever it might be. That could be true. I don't know. It's certainly possible. But then it still becomes, well, why haven't we been told? How come there's no solid proof? And that comes down to the dark and light, okay, and the control that the dark and light have. On this planet, everything is all about control. It's all about money. Again, you're sleeping under a rock if you don't see that. Every system out there is about control. You know, you pick up your phone. If you ever just started talking and then Siri or Google says, what was that? And gives you an answer of something you didn't ask for, they're always listening, always. Okay, so there's all kinds of control factors that happen in this environment too. So if that's true, which it is, and it's been proven again and again and again, that we are monitored, we are very much controlled on multiple levels, then it stands to reason that if there is aliens, which again I believe there is, that is being hidden from us. Why? Well, because control equals happiness for those that are in control. Alien and alien race and alien technology, which I'm highly confident exists, cannot be revealed to us, because if it is, then the gas and oil industry goes away, electricity industry goes away, virtually everything that creates wealth and abundance and happiness for those wealthy and for the darkness goes away. So if they let you know about that, probably not a good thing, right? Common sense. It has been stated, and it's probably true, that if you wear specific glasses that can see different ranges of frequencies, that you can actually see things moving around all over. You know, not bugs, but actually, you know, big objects moving around. It's because of the frequency range. This is one thing to truly keep in mind. Most of us run through life not believing in a God, not believing in anything, because we can't see it, touch it, feel it, taste it, or experience it. And so we use our five senses to limit our willingness to accept things that are outside of our five senses. Clearly, vision is one of those things. We have a specific range of light that these eyes see within. In the spiritual journey, we can open our third eye and we can see more, in many cases, into the spiritual realms. But it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to see, you know, aliens, but there is quite a few people that see angels and darkness and things like that. So that again validates that when we go outside of our five senses, when we start to realize there is frequency and dimension way beyond our capabilities, our current capabilities of comprehension and understanding, then we can start to open our heart and mind to life outside of us. Okay? So I bring this subject up because you can go down many different rabbit holes. Let's talk about the oceans. 3/4 of this planet is underwater. Sounds like a pretty good place to hide. We don't think much about it. So there could be a lot of activity out there. I saw a movie just recently, last week. I'd seen it like 2 times, and it was just, I was in a space where I was just looking for dumb entertainment, and it was Valerian. If you haven't seen it, go watch it, Valerian. But it basically was a alien life movie, and all kinds of different characters, all kinds of different activity. In the very beginning of the movie, they showed Americans in their suits shaking different hands of different races until they finally got up to different races that had tentacles and different races that had long snouts that they shook hands through, and globulin races that were living underwater. It was acknowledging what me personally, I believe that we've been doing as humanity. I believe we've been out there communicating with alien race for well over 100 years, consciously, purposefully. Okay? So, it doesn't matter what I believe. It doesn't matter if you believe what I believe. It's irrelevant. If that is happening, then what else is happening that we are unaware of? Right? Genetic manipulations, let's pop into that one. There's plenty of information, lots and lots and lots of information that states that we may have been literally created in a petri dish. That's a scary one to think about, right? Well, we do have proof of Earth cataclysmic conditions, right, happening multiple times. And many of the doctrines and texts, they talk about the end of the world happening in the past and the possible end of the world again. Okay, so a lot of people they run through life in fear around that. And honestly, it could have already happened 100 times just in our lifetime. We could have avoided narrowly this much, a massive nuclear war, 100 times minimum, and been completely clueless about it. Some of the stuff that I listen to in my off time, it validates that that's a possibility. So we have much working on our behalf that we're completely oblivious of, and we have those that are not too interested in us. There's an entire school of thought, which you may or may not have heard of, that the darkness feeds off the light. What does that mean? It's often referred to as loosh. And the general overview of it is that we have souls. You and I, we have souls. Souls are connected to Source. And Source is creator of all things. That means all light, and then there's the neutral, and then there's all dark. And so, if Creator created all dark, why? Okay, the dark is supposed to be without a soul. It needs our life force, and the life force that dark feeds off of is fear, fear, fear. It feeds off of worry, doubt, concern. It feeds off of anything that is not love. Darkness feeds off of anything that is not love. So, if you look at this humanity that we currently live in, what is everything? Literally, you can't turn on anything in social media without fear, worry, doubt, concern, conspiracy theory this, conspiracy theory that. I mean, it's how much positive do you find? You have to watch fluffy kitten videos or fluffy doggy videos to get anything of value, right? And then in between those, there's more anger, hatred, stabbings, cutting, slashing, this, that, and people being treated like slaves all over the world. If you think for a moment this is accidental, you're kidding yourself. Okay, you're just absolutely kidding yourself. The darkness has an agenda to keep humanity enslaved. And they do that by controlling our emotions, because the darkness feeds off of anything that is not of love and light. Now, this is all heavy. It's not the easiest conversation to have. But ignorance doesn't help us. When you can actually see it for what it is, you have the opportunity to rise above it and not buy into it and not give your life force energy away to it. Because darkness is darkness. It's going to do what it does. Source exists, and Source has created all this, so there's got to be a reason. And one possibility, my teacher says that from chaos, heroes are born. What's another way of looking at it? From very difficult conditions, we can catapult ourselves in the opposite direction. Okay, and that's, in my observation, one of the reasons why we're just getting our tail kicked in this life. And I've said this before, that we're actually clearing 1,000 lifetimes of spiritual debts in one lifetime. And that's probably very true, and we're doing it in one of the most difficult set of conditions that we have ever been here in. So, give yourselves a pat on the back if you're still alive. You're doing pretty good. But there's much, much, much going on. If we look at the previous cataclysms, there is a tremendous amount of information out there that indicates that we have literally been tinkered with in a petri dish. And a big chunk of it at the beginning was to bring life here to Earth so that there could be souls reincarnated. After this Maldek blew up and then no more life on Mars, blah, 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 Earth became, which was basically a fragment of Maldek. Life eventually formed after a billion or so years on Earth, but there was not really a human race that could hold a soul, so to speak. So apparently we were part of the, again, don't believe any of this. I'm not sure I do or not. It's just what I've bought into so far. The Yeti, the abominable snowman, the Bigfoot, whatever you want to call it. Apparently that was the original race here that they took and diced up the genetic manipulations and made human. We then became slaves of the alien race. Hence you look at the pyramids and all that, right? Think about that. You think somebody actually laser cut a limestone back then? You think we actually had that technology? We as humans didn't. Come on. And then we just rolled it on wood for 100 miles? Really? I mean, come on. There was all kinds of alien technology been on this planet long, long, long time. Open your thinking cap. So very much humanity has been slaves of something wiser and smarter than us for a long, long, long time. Now, intermixed with all this, we are still souls. And we are still souls that are on a spiritual journey. That part has never, ever, ever changed. Every soul, including the bad aliens that might have put us in a petri dish and created us, manipulating us, whatever it might be, they have a soul too. So all souls have layers of darkness and light in them, mistakes and good things, and that creates our life experience. So regardless of these very probable truths, we still have the soul level responsibility of becoming an enlightened being. So we want to be, conscientious of that. In the politics in today, I was buying into a lot of that a couple years ago. This president here solving things. This president here is the mistake of the world, and you get both sides and both agendas. If you turn on anything, they're just bashing one or bashing the other. Now I know not all of you are from America, but you could probably look at your country and see the same things. One side is getting bashed, and then the other side is getting bashed. What is the purpose? To keep you and me in a negative space. There is a very clear agenda to keep us in a state of irritation, despair, negativity, delineation, this side's better than that side. What do you think all the LBDGTQ plus, all of that agenda is about? Do you honestly think that any of us have had this negative towards the other side? Or do you think that that's a way to put a wedge between people? Because when you put a wedge between people, you can maintain control as long as you need to. If you stop and wake up and look at the massive control mechanisms that are almost all layered down to separation, segregation. Black is better than white, blue is better than green. These eyes are better than those eyes, this weight is better than those weights, this height is better than that height. You just look, okay? It does not require a great deal of intelligence to see that there is control mechanism after control mechanism all the way, purposefully. There is a school of thought out there that one of the reasons why is because that allows the darkness to keep us and our soul from becoming the light that it is. Think about that for a minute. All of these control mechanisms keep us in an emotional mental state that disallows us to be all that we can be. So you have that going against you, not to mention our own karma. That's a bucket load of stuff to deal with. You wonder why it's so hard on this journey at this time? Because you've got everything working against you if what I'm sharing has any validity to it. It may not. I'm just throwing out there the different pieces of information that I've come across over time. In the States and probably in your country, there is significant governmental manipulations of us at this level right here. I was listening to somebody that I've been following for a while. I'll go ahead and put this person's name out there, and you can listen once and say, yeah, that actually resonates with me, or you can just say, sounds like a bunch of crap to me. Okay, it's up to you. But it's called United News Network, and Kim Guggen, Gougen. Do your own homework on it. The way I've always operated is if it resonates with me, if a part of me says, that just feels right? Because I can tell when somebody's full of it. Also, I can tell when the information is junk, made up, whatever. This particular person has information that I definitely don't know if it's true or not. They share all kinds of stuff that is sketchy and questionable. But what I've learned to do in time is to simply listen to it and set it aside and see if this has helped me. Anything that's talking about alien life or whatever, I say, okay, that's an interesting piece of information. I can't validate it, but I'm going to put it right here and see if over time more things come to validate it. This person I've been listening to for almost a year now, and I continually hear a variety of things that seem quite validating. One of the things this person said just recently was that in her role to assist humanity, because we all have our roles, she has her own unique role, in her role to assist humanity, she is disassembling many of the things that the darkness has done to put into place control mechanisms. That's her role. Sounds a little foreign, a little out there. Go do your own homework, see if it resonates with you. And she shares that that in her review of many of the control mechanisms, that she was absolutely shocked. She said, I'm still working with this truth because I just discovered this, that you and I have been having nanobots put into our food, air, water. She says, you think we were trying to get you through, the jab? She says, they were getting you through every possible direction, through your food, through the water, through the air. They've been putting nanobot kind of control mechanisms, in everything. For what? For the purpose of control. For what? For the purpose so that our souls cannot shine the light that they have. Now again, you might say that's just too far out there, Paul. I agree, it's pretty damn far out there. It's really hard for me to accept this possibility. But I have witnessed again and again chemtrails, and I have witnessed, other people and sometimes myself getting very sick afterwards. So I'm not oblivious to those things, that there is some darkness out there trying to create harm to humanity. The wars. According to a lot of the information out there, those are always purposefully started. That should not be new news to you. Those are always purposefully started. But a lot of that is tied to the generation of money, generation of wealth. Again, should not be, surprising news to you. And if you notice, there's a lot of hubbub in the news, but they never actually get off the ground. Have you noticed that? They're kind of petering out. There's always this fear, and they kind of peter out. Look at the last full moon, right? What happened there? The last eclipse, excuse me. Even where I'm at here locally in Oklahoma, there was, information right there in the text and in the news about, watch out, go out and get your stock up on your stuff because the sun moves across the moon and for 5 minutes, or the moon moves across the sun for 5 minutes, and the whole world changes. And everything could just blow up. Fear. Control. Really wake up and see it if you haven't already, and go beyond what you're already seeing. Now, there is a lot of light-based warriors, and light will always come out on top. It's just because Creator is light, so Creator always wins. So in order to move ourselves and utilize this wisdom and this information to become an enlightened being, my suggestion is to observe it, but not dwell in it. because you could maybe, for example, be really interested in this specific war over there, or really interested in an alien agenda that you're reading about over here, or whatever it might be. And it's okay to entertain yourself, 10 minutes a day. But if you spend time really diving into something, what is it doing? Ultimately, it's pulling you away from going inside. And it's truly important to go inside as much as possible. And I apologize if the sound's a little low. I failed to make that adjustment this week. I'll see if I can adjust it at all here. Okay, I moved it up a little bit, so hopefully it will help a little bit now. Different, Zoom does this, and StreamYard does this, and these different platforms I use, they all have different mic issues. Okay, so if you are on the spiritual journey, one thing that tends to run true for all of us, at least here on earth, and in my observation, probably all souls in all creation, which is we are all built the same, in that we all have an energy body, and within that energy body there are chakras, and there is the frequency coming from the source, and there's the frequency coming from earth, and we are in between that. We are literally in a dimensional zone where we are more physical than the energetic matter that we consciously know we are soul forever, but we spend so much time in this physical flesh that just seems like the it, the all, and the everything. And so it can be very easy to get trapped in this third dimensional body and all of the junk that goes along with it. This again becomes why it becomes so difficult to reach enlightenment, why it becomes so difficult to reach immortality, because we're getting pulled from all potential directions. This little guy here, this one is the worst thing, right? I tested myself. I reached for that probably within no more than 10 seconds after I'm done with something else. Check yourself. Are you one of those? It's just, I look at it, I go, and I put it back down. I'm like, geez, this is such an addiction. There's so many negative frequencies emanating from that little device. It's control mechanisms, right? So you and I, individually have to be responsible for all these different things that pull on us. You wonder why it's so difficult to get ahead? You wonder why it's so difficult to move to what you want to do next? The toxins in our water, the air, the toxins in our body. If it's true what I just said a moment ago, where the nanobots are within us, do you think that those are not being negatively affected by radiation frequencies from the 5G? What about water? We already know that water carries frequency and vibration. What kind of frequency and vibration is happening to our water that we're putting in our body? So no one's going to fix us and put us on an enlightened path except us, and if you're blessed enough to have a truly enlightened teacher. From what I can tell, everybody here knows who Master Sha is. He's a truly enlightened teacher. But if you don't have a truly enlightened teacher, it becomes even harder. They're like the not the flashlight, the beacon, like the lighthouse, right? When you have a truly enlightened teacher, that's like the beacon in the lighthouse. I was at an advanced event, and I was there for 10 days, and I was fully engulfed in it. And I had all I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to keep on this track, I'm going to keep on that track, I'm going to implement all that. I was good for about 2 weeks. And then I slowly fell off my agenda and track. Why? Did I want to? No. I was farther away from the lighthouse. I was farther away from the purity of the light that a fully enlightened being carries. It is not easy to sustain our light when we have all of these forces that are negatively based forces working in an organized agenda to keep our light that we are from finding itself. So it's a battle. It's an absolute battle. And don't kid yourself for a moment. So this is why it's been even so hard. Master Sha says, trace, 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 chant, chant, chant. Don't let a mantra leave your lips. Why? Because it's literally allowing us to stay closer to the house of light. And we get caught up in the phone. We get caught up in, whatever it might be, the drama, the news, the this, the that. No one's going to pull us out of it except you. So align yourself with other like-minded people. There's many different activities that are part of Master Sha's group. There's all kinds of chat groups, and people are always in there doing something. Good! Because if you weren't always in there doing something, you might be in a gutter somewhere. That's how hard this journey can be. So I encourage you to be as consistent as possible with maintaining your light. And don't be oblivious to the extraordinary amount of control mechanisms that have been put in place to keep your light tamped down. Truly, truly, truly be conscientious of those. And do your best to pull yourself out of those as much as possible. Tara asks, I'd like to know if we're energetically attacked in our dreams, if we can be. Okay? Yes, absolutely. Because we are in this third dimensional space, but our soul is with Source, fifth dimensional space. And in between, when we are not anchoring ourselves in light, surrounding ourselves with light, then yes, we can be attacked. It could simply be something on our vibration that takes advantage of us. Because what I mean on our vibration, if you decided to walk into a bar last week and have a beer or two, there's not so many positive energies in that place, then that could have glommed onto your vibration, and then when you're asleep, takes advantage of you, right? So many different ways we can be attacked, even in our sleep. How do we deal with it? Put light around you when you go to bed. Put some calligraphy cards around you. Ask Jesus to be present, to bless you. Krishna, whomever you believe in, chant their name 100 times before you go to sleep. Position yourself to be protected. We have to be conscientious and protective of our own well-being. So there is so many different things I wished I could share with you. But in my role as a master teacher, I take the risk of crossing certain lines and causing people to think where they don't need to be thinking, or to be concerned where they don't need to be concerned, or who knows what they're going to think. But at the same time, it's important to not be oblivious to what's happening on this planet. So if you've been following my podcast for a while, I pretty much teach Master Sha's wisdom and teachings, and he's been very consistent with one of those wisdoms and teachings, which is chant a lot, choose a positive mantra, and it could be Jesus, 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 could be Krishna, 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 could be Buddha, 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 could be God, God, God. Any mantra that carries high frequency and light, and don't let it leave your lips, that's a good one that will always keep you in the light. Tracing is very, very important. Forgiveness practice. Forgiveness practice is truly a key. It helps to release the negativity off our vibration. Consistency of that. So it's a difficult path, especially at this time on Earth. There is conflicting information from different sources about, are we going to explode as a planet, or are we moving into a higher frequency and a higher dimension? Well, to be perfectly honest, the answer is still not known. It really depends upon the collective humanity, because we are a conscious collective. The darkness knows that, which is why they have been inundating us with all kinds of dark anything, so that you do not realize that we are a conscious collective. So in many cases we are an unconscious collective, which brings about significant negativity. A lot of me, a lot of selfishness, a lot of getting lost in the world of video games, or getting lost in the world of whatever it might be. So all of that separation, segregation, does not bring us into a collective consciousness of light, which is ultimately what we are and ultimately what we will return to. The question is, will we wake up fast enough, soon enough, before the collective negativity creates a manifestation for us that we're not going to enjoy? Because individually we are manifestors, and collectively we are manifestors. And if that's new information to you, then you need to go back and listen to my entire series on manifestation. And in this current moment, our outcome, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years from now, 10 years from now, will we explode? Will it be another cataclysm like the previous one, so we start over, right? Or will it be where we collectively move to a much higher frequency and vibration and become like a higher evolved race? That's a collective conscious movement choice. Your individual effort adds to it. Heal one, heal all has been heard many times. Master Sha repeats it. And what does that mean? That means anytime a person stays a little bit more in the light, then all of us are positively affected. Anytime a person stays a little bit more in the negativity, guess what? Right? All of us are negatively affected. So it is a collective manifestation. It just doesn't feel that way. And because the darkness has control over the media, they have control over the social media, all of the so-called truth channels in the social media, many of those are controlled. Like many of them are controlled. As long as they create separation, even the ones that are in America, it's all about MAGA or the other guy, right? But you have all these channels that say, fight for the light, MAGA's the light, blah blah blah. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Maybe that guy's actually dark, right? So there's all of these things that we don't know. You have to take care of yourself by following your heart. Pranjal asked, do we have a special or specific transmission of light to deal with dark magic or entities for ourselves and others? Yes and no. Love is our ideal light ball. Dark is simply like repelled. It's just repelled by love. So if you turn on any of your light balls, they radiate love and light. If you simply chant love, 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 God, 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 they cannot mess with you. They cannot. Okay? The dilemma is the minute you stop chanting, it could find its way in. So yes, we have them, and yes, we have the ability to protect ourselves, but it requires a constancy of keeping ourselves in a very light space. Granted, not easy. So this is also why it can be very hard to change things. I want to change my diet. Maybe you do too. I want to eat healthier. Maybe you do too. I want to exercise. Maybe you do too. Why are we not doing it? Because of the sheer over inundation of everything trying to keep us in a non-light-filled space. So continue to be vigilant, no matter what. Do not give up. Somebody asked me the other day, this is really important to hear, okay? Really, really important. They said, what if I was to take my life? Now, they weren't suicidal, but they have contemplated it. And I said, look, you may not have heard this perspective, but I'm going to give you one. And I really want you to think about this. It's been my observation that, existence is all at once. Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth dimension. It's all happening at the same time. And when we cross over, we simply, as a soul, move into a different vibration. We're just not in the physical body. But we have full remembrance of everything here. We have full knowingness of everything here. Now, what if we cross over and we are in an emotionally distraught, heavy, suicidal, distraught space, and we carry the less intense belief that everything is going to get better when we cross over? Well, the predominant belief that we carry is what brings forth our manifestation. Period. That goes all the way through all dimensions. The predominant focus is what brings forth our manifestation because we are co-creators. Right? It's just in the fourth, fifth, and higher dimension, it's instantaneous. Here, it takes this thing called time because time and space exists in the third dimension. But when we get out of this dimension by taking our own life or whatever it might be, we move into a frequency where time and space do not exist, therefore manifestation is instant. So if a person crosses over in a despair-based state, then they move into a time loop, so to speak, where they're constantly in a despair-based state, and it's instant. I'm in a despair-based state. I'm in a despair-based state. I'm in a despair-based state. I can't see out of it. I can't see out of it. I can't see out of it. And that, my friends, is what's called hell. So it could take that person a million years before enough light gets in and they're able to start over with another incarnation. So it's really, really difficult. It's a difficult life we're in. Do not give up no matter what. Continue pushing through. Continue to stay in the light. Continue to do whatever it takes to separate yourself from all the control mechanisms and focus on the brightest light you can. For me, it's my teacher, because he's reached that high level and he's saying this is how you get there. And he's given us tools and techniques to get there. Okay? So I'm going to follow the light. And if it's not him, it's going to be somebody else. But I'm always going to follow the light. And I'm always going to follow my heart. We have to trust our heart. People can say a lot of, very cute and kind and cool things. But if a part of you says, you need to trust that part of you. Okay? Because they can say 8 or 9 things that get you hooked in, but the 1 or 2 things say that they don't. It's just like a relationship. You can have, this person has this and this and this and that quality. But those 2 things go, You say, well, it's only 2 things. I like these other qualities, and it's been a long time since I've been loved. I'm going to go ahead and just accept these 8 and ignore these 2. Congratulations, you've just accepted an unpleasant relationship. It's the same thing with our alignment to Source. We need to always check our heart and use that as our major guide. Find a light, stick with it, do what it takes. So, in conclusion, we will have many, many different sources of information coming at us from all directions. And they are all either beneficial to us in that they say, okay, this is a dark piece of information. I'm going to use this to avoid, therefore I can stay in the light. Or it could be a light piece of information. We have to use our heart to discern. So even though these things that I've talked about, aliens, genetic manipulation, dark and light control, and all of that is probably true, what relevance does it have right now today to your enlightenment? What relevance does it have to you maintaining your light? 0. So use it for entertainment purposes only. Keep everything that you hear. If you don't accept it, just kind of push it off to the side, see if more information comes that validates it. And eventually, if we stick with it, we have a chance as individuals and as a collection of individuals to bring forth much, much more light. It's my personal opinion that we are going to, in this manifestation, in this round, if you will, meaning since the last destruction of Earth, use this. I personally believe that we're going to win this one, so to speak. I believe that the humanity is going to come out in the light, and that everything that has been here, sorry, you're not going to win. Now, everything serves a purpose. Every soul is trying to serve. So that darkness is serving us by giving us the impetus to move forward. Okay? So, very, very difficult subject to grab and speak out about and bring value to you. I hope it has. I'm glad I was able to get it out. I've been wanting to say this kind of stuff for 5 or 10 years now. But, I have to keep in mind those listening on the other side, to make sure that their heart and mind is open enough to hear it and to bring value to them. So thank you for this opportunity. I'll be back next week. We'll see if there's one more in this series with this out of the bound information, stuff that's a little bit far out there. And if not, we'll go back into something that is very honed and specific to the Tao wisdom. So thank you, everyone. Until then, have an awesome day. Bye-bye.